I always thought of Lisa as my own.
Where were they shot?
In the head and torso.
I'll be more than happy to do what my brother John would have done.
They were sitting in the back of the pickup truck, or lying in the back of the pickup truck.
I feel that he's 100% involved. Whether he actually pulled the trigger or not, I don't know.
You're listening to True Crime Arizona, the podcast.
Just off the busy I-17 freeway between Phoenix and Flagstaff is a road as peculiar as its name, Bumble Bee Road.
It's creepy, scary, it's dangerous. There's a lot of people out there partying. There's people out there with guns.
Bumblebee Road narrowly winds through the desolate desert with small areas to pull off and park. Mike Guerrieri had been there plenty over the years, but he never would have wanted his niece Lisa to go there, especially overnight.
So you didn't know she had gone up there?
No. And it's crushed me ever since.
Because in October of 2003, Lisa never came back home.
Following morning, got a phone call, an hour ahead of anybody. And I was told to keep it to myself that they found the truck. Lisa is in the back of it. She is dead. I always thought of Lisa as my own. Her and my daughter were just months apart.
Lisa Guerrieri was only 19 years old. She sang at her church in Mesa, Arizona, had a great job at a local power company, and a personality that just drew people in.
Oh, she was incredible. She was one of those girls that literally could walk in a room, you could be upset, ticked off, and you couldn't help but smile. Just because she always had a smile on her face. As a matter of fact, she sang at my wedding.
Lisa's voice was so special to her family. It was the last thing her father heard before he died of cancer.
I have a memory of John that I can't let loose. I don't know why it sticks with me, but it does. He was in hospice, and the nurse had told me, she said, keep an eye on your brother. She said, sometimes, she says, people come back for a short period. He did. He did. And it was wild. But he asked Lisa to come over and sit down and sing with him. And he sang the song, was it Deja Vu? Whatever. He sang it, and then he was out like a light again. But it was just an amazing thing. And it was amazing to see him and Lisa together doing it.
Did he ever gain consciousness again?
No.
So his last memory was with Lisa?
Yeah.
But Lisa had another special man in her life, her boyfriend, 20-year-old Brandon Rumbaugh. He was an Arizona State University student and a personal trainer. Friends say the two were so happy together and about to celebrate a milestone in their relationship.
Brandon and Lisa were going away for their 1-year anniversary. They didn't have the money to do anything else.
Because they were going to go to Disneyland, right? That was in the talk.
The original one. So they decided they were going to go spend the night shooting the stars with the camera or whatever.
The location, Bumblebee Road, the perfect place, they thought, for an overnight trip together. They took a video camera and bought a disposable camera on their way to document the night. But Lisa kept the trip a secret from Mike.
Lisa told my wife and her mother, do not tell Uncle Mike, because she knows damn well I would not have allowed it.
For safety reasons?
Well, I know the place. I used to party there. No, I would not have let her go there at all.
The two planned to be home by 9 a.m. the next morning.
When do you find out something was wrong?
The following morning, say my wife and I got a call, because Lisa was always very punctual. If she wasn't going to be someplace, when she said, she would call. She was always, right on. They were supposed to be home by 9 o'clock, no later. I guess it had to be somewhere around 10 after, quarter after. Paula called my wife, Trish, and told her she hasn't heard from Lisa. Trish and I knew instantly something's wrong.
Lisa and Brandon would be found in the back of their pickup truck, both shot dead. Lieutenant Frank Barbaro with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office was one of the first deputies on the scene.
So they were located in Bumblebee Road, and basically responded with a team of detectives, and we secured the area around it and started to search the crime scene and worked our way in and found the two, Brandon and Lisa, in the car.
What did the car look like? How were they found?
This area was a parking spot where people would unload ATVs and go riding and camp around there and stuff, and this was pretty close to the road, and the vehicle was backed in and they were sitting in the back of the pickup truck, or lying in the back of the pickup truck.
Sleeping bags?
Yes.
And how did you know this wasn't a murder-suicide?
Well, there was no weapon at the scene, and there's no indications that they would do something like that.
Were they shot multiple times?
Yes.
Both of them?
Yes.
Where were they shot?
In the head and torso.
As detectives searched the area, they found something on the ground, not far from the truck. The disposable camera the couple had bought, broken in half.
Where did you find the camera? What did it look like?
So the camera looked like it had been thrown away from the truck, and it was found by some rocks, probably about 40 yards away.
Do you think the person who killed them tried to throw the camera away to destroy evidence?
Well, it's a good possibility.
But they quickly realized the only other camera that could have clues as to what happened was missing.
You also found or knew that there was a video camera.
They wanted to take this video camera with them, and I believe it was Lisa's mom's camera. So they took it, and we never located that thing. So we found the camera case, but we never found the video camera.
And you know what kind of camera it was?
Yeah, it was a VHS camera, and we know everything about it, even the serial number.
So you think the person who killed them took that video camera with them?
Absolutely.
And potentially that could have all the evidence you need to solve it on it?
Well, it'd be interesting to talk to the person who's in possession of that.
During our investigation, the Sheriff's Department was ready to share evidence with us they had never shown to the public before. They were able to develop several pictures from that broken disposable camera. The last two on the roll were likely Lisa and Brandon's last moments alive. There was a shot of each of them in the back of the truck, both looking happy and relaxed, smiling back at each other. But there are a few other pictures they were able to develop that remain a mystery as to what they're of and where they were taken. They show the inside of a building with a CFL light bulb. Detectives have not been able to place where the couple was before they parked for the night.
I've always been interested, since I was a young girl, Nancy Drew and various books and shows. So I've always been interested in puzzles and figuring out what happened. I think the more time I spend with it, the more I'm not willing to give up.
This case has a special set of eyes on it. With a background in politics and education, Deb West is now a cold case volunteer with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office and has been working on the Guerreri-Rumbach case for several years.
What are you zeroing in on right now?
I would say definitely looking at the evidence again, looking at maybe some things that were not tested back in the day that maybe could be tested now because of DNA advancements.
What wasn't tested then that should be now?
Well, for example, Brandon's pants, the jeans that were there. It's very possible that the perpetrator looked through the pants. So we need to look at that and see if there's any information there we could use.
During our interview with the Sheriff's Department, Deb and the detectives debated whether or not they wanted to talk publicly about the caliber of gun used in the murders. The gun has never been found.
Well, the family knows. That doesn't mean everyone else knows. If you have any cars to hold back, it might be one to hold. Just my thought.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about it, Deb. You tell me how you feel.
Deb thought the public should know, and the detectives listened to her.
Maybe someone knows someone who had a 25.
I mean, 16 years, we're held back enough.
They decided to release what they know, a .25 caliber handgun.
So a 25.
Yeah.
What's unique about that?
25, it's just not a very unique weapon. It's a small caliber, small gun, kind of like a little pocket gun. It's probably a 10 round, 11 round capacity gun.
It's just not something people use.
Yeah, not very popular.
No gun at the scene, but plenty of DNA. Just not the DNA Lieutenant Barbaro and his team were looking for.
We've had several DNA matches to that area, but people are there for legitimate reasons. So just because somebody's DNA is in an area doesn't mean that they committed the crime.
And that's tough, right? And especially that there were so many people out there, that has to almost cloud the area in terms of people's DNA you could pick up.
It's the old needle in a haystack thing.
But he feels the investigation weighs in a certain direction.
Normally people are killed by somebody they know. So usually if you find that relationship or find out how they're hooked into somebody else, you're gonna be able to put this together.
But you think this was random?
It seems like it.
Because if it was random, why do you think those two would be targeted when there were other people, lots of people, up at that same campsite?
Well, there wasn't really anybody up there at night. So that's mostly a day use area. And then if you're gonna camp, that's pretty close to the side of Bumblebee Road. So if you're gonna camp, there was another 2-track road that you could have driven down and gotten to some areas where you spend the night. So it was a pretty weird spot to stay, and nobody knew where they were gonna be. And we're talking 2003, Lisa didn't even have cell phone communication with anybody. Brandon's cell phone, I think, worked, but he hadn't talked to anybody. And there wasn't the social media and stuff, hey, we're going over here, we're gonna post these pictures where we're at the time. That wasn't going on. And because of the theft of some of the items, we're thinking maybe it was a burglary and they didn't know they were sleeping in the back of the truck.
He's not alone. Through her research, Deb also feels the same.
I'm leaning more toward a random. Whether it's someone, the purpose was to break into the truck, steal the truck, whatever, and we're surprised by the people in the back.
But Lisa's family doesn't believe it was random at all.
Definitely, if they're not involved, they are involved as far as they know something.
Before 20-year-old Brandon and 19-year-old Lisa were found off the I-17 on Bumblebee Road, an area where Brandon's friends had been searching.
This guy, my oldest daughter's boyfriend, and that went looking for Lisa.
As soon as Lisa and Brandon's friends learned they hadn't come back from camping,
After spotting the truck, they flagged down DPS officer Ryan Hawkins.
they went looking for them. Their friends ended up being the ones who found them dead.
They pulled in front of me. One of the friends came running back in tears, crying, saying that they had found the truck off of Bumblebee.
Mike says the circumstances were bizarre. We're disguising names since nobody has been named officially as persons of interest.
The following day, he drove right exactly to Bumblebee Road, got off, stopped, wouldn't go any further. They sat there for I don't know how long. Then he insisted on pulling a U-ey. There was a car behind him or something. Something made him go forward. And when he did, that's when the other guys noticed the truck.
So they found it, this group of people involved with your family
Yeah,
found them.
these 3 guys.
And you believe they're involved?
I believe 1, if not 2. Definitely, if they're not involved, they are involved as far as they know something. There's one person in particular that I feel that he's 100% involved. He's 100% knowledgeable as to what took place. Whether he actually pulled the trigger or not, I don't know. I don't have that answer.
And that person was questioned by detectives?
Yes.
And what happened from there?
He was given a polygraph and let go.
What would have been the motive?
He wanted Lisa. He wanted Lisa bad.
To be with her?
To be with her. And
Brandon was instead?
well, Brandon, from what I understand, had a fight over it because she was already going out with Brandon. She didn't want any part of this guy.
Mike was ready to go ask this friend's questions face to face, but he got a call and was told the man had cleared out his home and left town.
Last I heard, he was in Vegas, but then I heard he moved from there.
So you don't know where he is?
I don't know where he's at, but I don't believe anyone would have gotten a little polygraph and said, oh, well, you're not involved. You would pat on his back and send him on his way. Well, the guy's been gone ever since.
Pretty suspect.
To me, pretty damn, yeah, very.
If the sheriff's department lets somebody go solely on a polygraph test, that could be a big case misstep. So I asked Lieutenant Barbaro about this point blank. After all, he said himself, people are often murdered by people they know.
The family believes there was a person of interest who was talked to and was only cleared by a polygraph test, and then that person skipped town. Is that true?
He moved to Washington, I think, and they went and did a polygraph and cleared him, but you know, I wouldn't clear somebody just based on a polygraph.
But was he?
Well, he was cleared by them. Nobody's cleared by us right now.
Cleared by them, you mean Washington authorities?
No, by the detectives that were working on the case.
From YCSO?
From YCSO.
So do you think you guys should retest him and re-question him and re-evaluate everything about him?
Everything's on the table right now.
Lieutenant Barbaro admits that man never should have been cleared. Lisa's family believes to this day the Yavapai County Sheriff's Department botched the investigation.
Would you call it frustration with how it was handled, the investigation, or disappointment or anger?
All the above. Very disappointed from the get-go. I still feel if it was brought to Maricopa County, I think we would have seen some different outcome.
You think it would have been solved?
I believe so.
Well, you know what's interesting?
As we started shutting down the cameras, turning off the lights, and breaking down our equipment, Lieutenant Barbaro said something unexpected.
Okay, let me pull that report and look at it real quick.
But you'd have to answer it on camera.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
He presented a theory he had never talked about before. Another murder that happened near Bumblebee Road, not long after Lisa and Brandon were killed, with a suspect's name we had never heard, Rusty Rankin.
If it hasn't been covered and you guys think it's a possibility, I think it's worth talking about. Okay, perfect.
So we turned the cameras back on.
6 months after this murder, there were two gentlemen camping from Yuma up by Crown King, and they were shot and their pickup truck was stolen.
And what happened from there?
Well, the suspect was actually tracked to Colorado Springs, and when contacted by the police, he barricaded in his room in a hotel room and killed himself.
Do you think these are related?
There's a possibility. It's a similar type of crime. Both the victims were shot multiple times. A vehicle was involved, and it's kind of one of our theories that when Brandon and Lisa were sleeping in the back of the car, you know, somebody drove up or got to the vehicle, opened the door, that turned the bed light on, you know, and stirred them, and that's when the guy shot them, or the suspect shot them. And 6 months later, we have a similar type of crime where two people are shot for their vehicle to be stolen.
Odd?
It's very unusual. It never happens here.
There's no evidence that Rusty Rankin knew Lisa and Brandon, but with their killer still at large, nothing has been ruled out.
We talked to some people they knew, and that's going to be part of the ongoing investigation to see if these are tied together. We submitted his DNA and his fingerprints, and none of those were found at the Rumbagh Guerreri scene. So, you know, we've tried to do that, but it's just going to have to be one of these things where we tie it together by people.
So there's a plan to re-question the people that knew him?
Yes.
So, yeah, it's been a pretty horrible thing.
It's got to make you angry.
Very much.
Perhaps the worst part of the decades of pain are the words Mike Guerreri may never get to say to the person who took his niece's life on Bumblebee Road in the dark of night.
What's your message to the killer or people involved?
Honestly, or
Honestly.
step forward and give me 5 minutes. So I just like to see their ass rot in jail. My father had a saying, it is what it is. but I don't think that goes for murder.
I'm journalist Briana Whitney. True Crime Arizona, the podcast, is hosted by me and produced by Sergio Hernandez. To hear our latest podcasts and case investigations, subscribe on any of these platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Stitcher.